serving.
Okay, we're going.
Circle Parks in that skit.
Okay, let's get started. My name is James Pepper. I'm the chair of the Vermont Cannabis Control Board. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, and I call this meeting to order. So first item to note is we have to amend our agenda. We'd scheduled a Q&A session on inventory tracking that was going to be hosted by Terry Jaguar, our Director of Compliance. He has fallen victim to COVID. We are wishing him a speedy recovery, but we're not going to force him to join us today. He did send us a few FAQs.
He did, yes.
And some responses to those that we've received since our inventory tracking forms went live. And I think Bryn is going to review those during that portion of our agenda. But I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to remove the Q&A session on inventory tracking.
So I move to amend the agenda to remove the Q&A session on inventory tracking.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You both had tongue twisters. I got the.
I will note that our staff is organizing a longer form live Q&A session focused on testing, inventory tracking, and product registration. We are still nailing down the exact date for that, but our hope is to do it after hours, an evening event sometime in November. Quick note, reminder that applicants are not permitted to begin operating until they have their CCB issued license in their hands. Each week, the board reviews staff recommendations and approves applications that meet our qualifications. This approval is not a green light to possess cannabis, to manufacture, to open your business to the public, or to otherwise begin your operations. When the board approves an application, the applicant receives an email from the CCB requesting certain additional information. Proof that your insurance policy has been activated, proof that your bank account is open, proof that your employees have been trained, proof that you've paid your licensing fee, or that you've registered with the Department of Taxes. These are things that the board either does not require when we approve you or can't be done until you've been approved by the board. For instance, we don't want you to pay for an insurance policy while you're sitting in our queue waiting to be approved. And the tax department won't register your business until you've been approved by the board. But these are all mandatory steps that need to be in place before you begin to operate. So once an approved applicant provides these final documents to the CCB, we will then send you your license, and no one can operate until they have that license in their hands. A reminder that every product that's being sold to the public has to be registered and approved by the CCB. This is a critical step to ensure that everything that's available to consumers is compliant with our testing protocols, our improved ingredients list, our labeling, advertising, and packaging requirements. Oversight over the products being sold is the fundamental promise of a regulated market. We will not tolerate the sale of unregistered products, and we have already had to pull several unregistered or non-compliant products off the shelves of retailers. Gifting. We know that in the lead up to Tax and Regulate, there has been a lot of organized and advertised events with gifting where people have been trying to build their brands by giving away their products. I remind everyone that in the regulated market, cannabis is a taxed product, and only licensed retailers are permitted to sell cannabis to the general public. No other type of licensee may sell or transfer cannabis to the public. There are statutory prohibitions on people with cannabis licenses diverting cannabis to the illicit market, bundling it with other products to avoid paying taxes, or providing it free of charge with the purchase of something else. The board has authorized licensees a limited amount of giveaways to other licensees, not the general public, through our sampling provisions. All of these samples, as well as any other cannabis that's changing hands, has to be tracked through inventory tracking forms. And when it comes to gifting cannabis that wasn't grown pursuant to a license, like a home grow, I would note that advertising or promoting these kinds of gifts is a crime. Other than that, just need to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which is on October 12th.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Bryn, I think Carrie sent you a couple of notes about inventory tracking.
Did indeed. So he wants to note that a big thank you goes out from the board to those licensees that have successfully entered their inventory tracking. As of today, most of our cultivation licensees have successfully entered data into our inventory tracking system. And this is going to allow the board to verify your plant counts against the numbers that the compliance team have collected as they've been out to visit your sites. It's also going to allow us to analyze how Vermont is doing on a production per plant basis compared to how other states in the country are doing. So there are a few questions that are coming up over and over again that are answered on our FAQ page of our website and in our guidance, which is on the guidance page of our website. We posted a document that provides guidance for inventory tracking and testing. So I would encourage everybody to check those out, read them. They'll be helpful. But I will go through the four most popular questions that Carrie has received and give you the answer. So the first is that if your plants aren't through the harvest, drying, sorting stage, can you enter your dry weight in a few weeks? And the answer is yes, you can. Enter all of the data that you have now and update using the same harvest lot number as you collect additional data. So the system that we designed is meant to be updated throughout the plant's grow cycle. Second most popular question. As a cultivator, do I have to go into inventory tracking every 2 weeks, even if nothing has changed? And the answer is yes. That is true now, and it will continue to be true when we have the next iteration of our inventory tracking system. So it's advised that everybody check in with the system every 2 weeks so you stay familiar with the system. And your report that nothing has changed is totally fine and it's expected. So I think that Carrie noted that we did have several cultivators forget how many males they pulled. And that is an example of something that wouldn't be forgotten if people were checking in with the system every 2 weeks. Another frequently asked question, can you help me understand harvest lots and process lots? These terms are defined in our guidance. I will read the definition now. A harvest lot is all cannabis that's grown in the same manner. And that means the same fertilizer schedule, same pesticide application schedule, and on the same flowering schedule. Harvest lots can contain one or multiple cultivars of cannabis. Each harvest lot needs to be tested for pesticides and pathogens. A grower decides how many harvest lots they have depending on what works best for their individual business practice. Again, these terms are defined in guidance. Process lots are whole or partial harvest lots that follow different paths towards market or are diverted into waste. Process lot numbers are the harvest lot number with an additional sequential number coming after it. And finally, another frequently asked question, the last one, what test do I need for my process lot of smokable flower? And the answer is the 3 Ps. So THC potency, pesticides, and pathogen testing. The potency has to be below 30% on flower that's offered for retail sale. And any cannabis that's positive for aspergillus can't enter the market as smokable flower, but it may be offered for extraction. So those are the answers to our most frequently asked questions. Again, I would direct people to look at our website where we have an FAQ page that includes a number of questions on inventory tracking. And we also have inventory tracking guidance. There's a link to it right next to the link for the inventory tracking document. So it's quite easy to find. And I would just reiterate that in a few weeks, close to Thanksgiving, the staff will be hosting an FAQ session where people, or a Q&A session where people can come and ask questions of staff, and we will give you the answer.
DPs.
Right. Well, why don't we just move right into the staff recommendations for social equity and licensure?
Okay. Bigger. So here's your adult use and medical cannabis register for this week. Starting with the medical cannabis program. Here are the numbers from the last week. You can see that we are, medical staff continues to be processing applications within our 30-day window. So that's great news. Moving on to our adult use license application numbers. See if I can make it all fit on one page here. So you can see just some trends to point out. In the submitted and received categories, you can see the numbers are mostly down to 0, except for our employee ID cards. The new applications that are coming in are primarily employee ID cards, and our other license type applications have largely slowed down. So the total number over here, 760, that's about 50 more than we had last week. And the vast majority of those are employee ID card applications. So just the trend continues that our licensing staff is making their way through all of the submitted license applications. The vast majority of those are right here in incomplete status. You can see 254 applications in incomplete status, which means that the licensing team has reviewed those applications and notified the applicant of what they are missing in order to continue to move through the process.
It's cool to see that this industry is created. You would think over 250 jobs thus far. You know, just if you're looking at employee ID card numbers alone with the withdrawal numbers.
Yep. And we've issued 42 employee ID cards so far. So we've processed quite a few in the last week. It's a big jump from last week. Great. Moving on to our recommendations this week. So this is the board's list of applicants that staff has approved or is recommending for approval because these applicants have met all of the requirements for a cannabis establishment license that are found in board rule and in statute. I'll go through the list. So we have Mr. Z Craft Cannabis applying for an indoor tier 3 cultivation license. Simple VT applying for a tier 1 manufacturer license. Green Mountain Hash applying for a tier 2 manufacturer license. Cilia Processing applying for a tier 3 manufacturing license. Juniper Lane applying for a retail license. Native East applying for a retail license. Capital Cannabis Company also applying for a retail license. Kingdom Kind also applying for a retail license. And Encore Herbals applying for a tier 1 manufacturing license. So that is the list of applicants that staff are putting forward, recommending for approval this week.
Questions about those?
No.
No.
Okay. Here's our, we've got one more amendment in the queue. It's just our little update on how many applications are in the amendment process. Sorry, I'm having trouble today.
And what are the nature of the amendments, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, amendments are changes to a business name or some other simple change that would not rise to the level of a license renewal. So it's not a change of ownership that would require. Yep, and it's also change of business name. If there's a typo in their application, that's also included in the amendments.
PO box to physical address.
PO box to a physical address, that kind of thing.
Are we voting on those, or are we just?
No, those are the types of changes that staff are able to approve without the board's consideration. Again, the types of changes to an application that would require board consideration are renewals.
Are these very time consuming?
I think that generally they are not, but on occasion they can be. But one thing I should note at this point is that the staff is working on a number of reports. We are learning our system, learning on how to generate these reports. And when we drop to a monthly meeting in the new year, we will have kind of fine-tuned several different reports that the board can take a look at every month, including how long each of our individual processes are taking. How long does it take to get from a submission to an approval? How long are our amendments taking? Things of that nature. So stay tuned for all that. Many exciting things to come. But not much to report on social equity this week. We don't have any applicants up for approval or denial this week. Here are our numbers. We do have I think one new applicant that is identifying as a social equity applicant that's come in since last week. But generally the numbers are staying pretty static for the last couple of weeks. So no new recommendations there. That's it for this week.
Great. Any questions for Bryn?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
I move that the board accept each of the recommendations for licensing approval as presented to us by staff in this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, we're ahead of schedule. Why don't we shift to public comment? We'll handle this the same way we always do. If you join via the link, please raise your virtual hands. We'll call on you in the order that you've raised your hands, and then we'll move to folks that join via the phone.
Marie.
Specific guidelines for, the package specific guidelines, such as the QR code that links testing results. It's just kind of a heads up for cultivators. I don't know where they want to go with this or how they want to approach it, or if the CCB should look at it, but I'm noticing so far that at least Biodiagnostics, I think it is, has the cultivator's physical address listed right on the testing results. So that could be an area of concern to the cultivators, just because it does show a physical address, and I have to, I have to link to it in the QR code for my packaging. So I don't want to put anyone at risk in doing so. So just maybe something to look into, consider.
Yeah, thanks, Marie.
Yariam.
Hello, once again. Thank you for everything you're doing. One comment that I have is on your giveaways. So you can't give any product away to the consumer. Can you drop that product down to 10 cents and tax it as such and then give it out to the consumer as a promotional price? It's just a thought and it was rattling in my head. I mean, I'm not going to be producing nor selling nor giving away any products since we're testing. It's just a thing that was rattling up there. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Yari.
Dave.
Giveaways. My view is that licensees do have the right to give cannabis to adults 21 and over. I think you have a clear statutory prohibition on advertising giveaways and advertising free cannabis. I think you have a very clear statutory scheme for taxing combinations of products where cannabis is discounted below its list price. But I don't see a prohibition on actually giving cannabis to someone. I think that is allowed by law. So I'm just going to leave that there.
Anyone else who joined via the link? Hey, and if you joined via phone and would like to make a public comment, you can hit *6 to unmute yourself. All right. I will close the public comment window. Again, if anyone has comments throughout the week, you can always email us. There's a public comment button on our homepage at our website. Those go to every board member. We do get to see them, and we do try and kind of update our guidance based upon the comments that we get. Julie, Kyle, anything you want to say before we adjourn?
No, I don't think so.
I'm good this week.
All right, great. Well, then I will adjourn the meeting. See you all next week.